Alright, so now that we finished part 1, we're going to move on to part 2. I'm first going to take my third cork, and I'm going to sand it on the bottom and on the side. If you want the bottom, we'll go over here across from the rest of it, what we've already done, to make our little triangle, right? Ooh, here's 1, 2, 3 points. And I'm gonna let that cool down, and we're gonna move on to our LEDs. So our LEDs are gonna look like this. They're clear little lights with a long leg and a short little leg. These only work if you wire them up the right way, right? So our batteries have a plus and a minus side, right? So these long legs are gonna go to our plus side of our battery, and these shorter legs are gonna go to the minus side of the battery. What we wanna do is put a little bit of glue right on the edge of the stick, and make sure that we put all the legs on the same side. So if we put our long leg on this side, all the long legs are going on this side. If we put our short leg on this side, all the short legs are going on this side. So I'm gonna make sure I follow that. I'm gonna confirm that these are the same sides. Put a little bit of glue on the edge. Okay, so now once you've got those LEDs secured on there with some hot glue, I bent out my legs right here from my LEDs facing out, and I cleaned off some hot glue that I got on them. So if there's some hot glue on yours, make sure to try to clean them off as good as you can. And once they're cooled down and they're on there real well, we're going to take some wire, and we're gonna make sure, just like all the rest, that we have enough wire to reach all the LEDs and to our battery, okay? So we're going to put it up right here. Make sure there's enough that goes to all of our LEDs and to our battery. And maybe just a little extra just in case, just to give some room for our twisting of our wire and just the distance it has to travel. So I'm gonna cut 2 that are the same length, so I'm just gonna compare them next to each other. So now that I have my 2 wires, I'm gonna grab my little LEDs on my stick, and each side is gonna get joined together by a wire. So I'm gonna go down this side, and I'm gonna connect them all to this wire. So you just wrap it around, and then you go to the next one, you wrap it around. And mine came loose a little, so I'm gonna fix it real quick. I'm gonna add a little bit more glue. I'm gonna hold it down. Okay, now I'm gonna go to my last one. I'm gonna wrap it around and push the little legs that I stretched out, that I bent, and push them down as well, just to make sure it holds the wire in place. We will secure these down a little bit better, but after we test that our lights are working, okay? So we're gonna do the other side the same way. Should look like that. Okay, so once we got that, we're going to put our short leg, and if you don't remember what your short leg or your long legs ones were, we can just simply test it. So we're gonna take one end and we're gonna put it on the top of the battery, and we're gonna take the other end and put it at the bottom of the battery. So I'm gonna go over here, the bottom of my battery, and touch the bottom and then touch the top, and I've got no light. So that means we might have it backwards. So let's flip it, let's switch the wires. I'm gonna put this wire at the bottom, this wire at the top. Boom, it's working, right? So once you confirm that that's working, I'm gonna add some glue over these little lines that we made over our wire, and it's gonna hold it together. Just a little dot of glue on top of each one, just to hold them together. They don't come apart. You could also use tape. I prefer glue, but you can also just take some tape, and to hold it together, just put a piece of tape over them like this. Just like that. So once you've done that, we can glue our LEDs to our cork that we have down here. And give it a test. So I'm gonna touch this wire to the top, and we have this wire coming out the bottom going to our motor. We can just use that to test it real quick, because this wire is already touching the bottom, right? The minus, and this is the plus. We can take this one and we can touch this wire that's coming out of there already. Since it's making contact with the bottom of the battery, right? It's basically the same thing. So there you go. You got our LED strip working, our little LEDs are blinking. And to make everything work together, we can join our wires. So I'm gonna twist this one that goes to the minus together with the other one that goes to the minus of the motor. And I'm going to join these two plus sides of the motor and our LEDs, and they should both be working together. And if they're not, either we don't have a good connection with our batteries, and we're gonna make sure everything is touching with our batteries. And if it's still not working, we probably have a short circuit, right? Which means that these wires right here are touching, and it's stopping it from working. And you would notice as well that these wires get really warm, so be careful. Try not to burn yourself. It could get really hot pretty quickly. So if it's not working, first confirm that none of your wires are touching, unless they're supposed to be touching. And make sure that your batteries are making good contact too. Make sure they're touching each other like how they're supposed to right here. Maybe add a little bit more foil. Make sure the bottom is touching good. I'm gonna take my cardboard little attachment that I made on the first part, and I'm going to put it on top of my motor, and I'm gonna test both of them. And as you can see, my LEDs are in the way, right? So we can always just pull it off. We can remove it. We can move it around, or we can trim our little attachment that we made last time. I'm just gonna move my LEDs out of the way a little bit more to the side. go. They're both working at the same time, right? And if I try doing it with one battery, let's see what it does. So you can see that your LEDs aren't working, right? All right, yeah, so everything looks good, right? But our LEDs aren't turning on. And the reason for that is these LEDs need at least 2 volts to work, right? And since one battery only has 1.5 volts, that's under the amount we need for them to work. So if we go up to the top and we touch the top, these 2 batteries are working together now, right? And what does that make? That makes double what we had before. That makes 3 volts. So that's over 2 volts, right? So that's why these LEDs are working. So one more thing you can do is grab a piece of paper and you could cut it to whatever shape. And there we go. We're gonna test that one more time. And there we go. So yeah, mess around with that, make a little design that uses the lights in some way. Mine's kind of boring, I just drew a couple circles, but see what you can do with it. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of cool designs you can come up with. But that's a really fun thing you can do with these LEDs that we placed here.